The holidays are starting, the streets are lively, and it's hot. It's your birthday, and tonight you're going to celebrate it with your pasta. So, some Falagril, period. It's not a fancy restaurant, but you know what you're going to find there. A rib steak, fries, a complimentary salad, wooden decor, commercials on television, and definitely a celebration that will end with a cake, candles, and servers singing while clapping their hands. At that time, Buffalo Grill is everywhere. More than 200 restaurants, millions of customers every year, and a well-established place in the hearts and stomachs of the French. It has become a habit, a ritual, a landmark. But what no one knows that night is that behind the scenes, a tiny but very real flaw had just opened up. A logistical decision, a document, a truck. Nothing visible to the customers. And yet this detail will turn the whole company upside down. A few months later, the brand will be at the center of a national scandal. The restaurants will empty out, and the founder will be indicted. And what looked like a quiet success story will become a battle for survival. So how did such a powerful brand lose its grip? Were the decisions that led to its downfall avoidable? Can it ever make a comeback to the top, or is it doomed to end, like Fludge Quick or Pizza Pie? Hi, Entrepreneur Mindset. I hope you're doing well. Many of you asked me for this video after the one about Fludge. By the way, as usual, feel free to suggest topics that interest you. Whether it's in tech, fashion, or food service, you always have excellent ideas. So today we're going to trace the story of a business adventure that's as fascinating as it is fragile, that of Buffalo Grill. A story of vision, meat, and decisions that seem trivial until the day they cost millions. Let's go. Renault 12s and Peugeot 504s speed south, headlights on despite the early summer sun. On the roadside, a red building has just appeared out of the asphalt, with a triangular roof, wooden facade, and huge bison horns towering over the road. Inside, there are vinyl benches, country music playing in the background, and the smell of grilled meat wafting all the way to the parking lot. This is the very first Buffalo Grill, and that night, a man watches the scene without saying a word. His name is Christian Picard, and he may have just created something that will change dining in France. He just came back from a long trip to the United States. Over there, he discovered steakhouses, restaurants that are massive, with a simple promise. You come in, you eat a good steak, and you leave happy. He thought to himself, what if I brought that back home? With his wife, he's looking for a name. She suggests Buffalo Bill. He replies, Buffalo Grill. That's how it all started. The concept is, you come to eat meat, you sit down, they offer you a green salad, you order, it's generous, it's fast, and it's not too expensive. And for an hour, you feel like you're traveling in the Wild West without leaving the Paris region, and people like it. Very quickly, the rumor spreads. A second restaurant opens, then a third. Word of mouth does the rest. Families gather there, kids love it. The prices are fair. In 1990, Buffalo Grill already has 40 restaurants. In 1994, the 100th one opens, then the brand shifts into high gear. And that's when some discrete decisions are going to be made. Logistical choices considered secondary at the time, but which, without anyone suspecting it, will sow the seeds of a disaster. We'll come back to that, but what you're about to discover is almost impossible to believe, even today. 1999, initial public offering. 2002, 260 restaurants, including some in Spain, Belgium, and Switzerland. Thousands of employees, millions of meals served each year, and a turnover close to 500 million euros. Buffalo Grill is everywhere, in shopping areas, by the roadside, near movie theaters. It's become a reflex, a habit, a meeting spot. The bison logo is engraved in the minds of the French. The commercials are on television birthdays or celebrated with giant brownies and candles. Buffalo Grill has conquered France. But what no one sees is the other side of the story. The supply chains, the trucks arriving from England, and an administrative document that, at the time, didn't seem very important, but would soon shake up the entire job market. An article appears in Le Canard enchaîné, a blunt headline. Direct accusation. Buffalo Grill is said to have served meat from the United Kingdom. Okay, the Franco-British rivalry is strong, but you must be wondering what the problem is? Well, it's pretty simple. Since 1996, it's been forbidden because of a word we'll never forget: mad cow disease. Let's go back a few years to 1996. Europe banned all imports of British beef. The risk is a neurodegenerative disease transmissible to humans, making headlines everywhere. It's one of the worst health crises of the 20th century. Dozens of countries block trade, and France imposes a total embargo. But 5 years later, internal documents come out: delivery slips, invoices, email exchanges, and they all point in the same direction. Buffalo Grill allegedly continued to import British beef between 1996 and 2000. The shock is immense. The chain, which until then was extremely popular, found itself at the center of a national scandal. The media goes wild, families become worried, and the justice system opens an investigation. And then it's a downward spiral. Former employees speak out, transporters testify, and some claim to have seen trucks arriving from Great Britain, sometimes at night. There were even batches allegedly stored discreetly in warehouses. But strangely, Buffalo Grill, for its part, completely denies it. Management speaks of misunderstandings, mistakes, suppliers, and misinterpreted documents. But the damage is done. The Paris Public Prosecutor's Office opens a judicial investigation. Christian Picard, the founder, is indicted. He is suspected of knowingly lying about the origin of the meat. And in the restaurants, the atmosphere changes completely. Some customers no longer dare to come. The tables are empty, and the employees are worried. In a few months, attendance drops by 20% and revenue decreases. A damaged image in a brand that, overnight, goes from being a symbol of family gatherings to a restaurant to avoid. The press talks about a buffalo kill. The stock price collapses, the unions step in, and the franchisees start to panic, because for them, it's a nightmare. They didn't do anything, but they're paying the price. Some are on the verge of bankruptcy, customers are leaving, and the fixed costs remain. And above all, doubt is there in every plate and every look. What Buffalo Grill will take more than 10 years to rebuild was destroyed in just a few weeks. And yet in the shadows, the founder is preparing a plan that will change everything for the brand, but one he will not be a part of. In a discreet meeting room, in the heart of the 8th arrondissement, a contract is signed. A contract worth 200 million euros. Christian Picard sells Buffalo Grill. 25 years after opening the first restaurant in Aaronville, he turns the page. Officially, he talks about new challenges, but behind the scenes, everyone knows. The scandal has worn the man out and weakened the company. The buyer is Colony Capital, an American investment fund that was led at the time by Sébastien Bazin, the future boss of the French hotel empire. Accor, a group that owns Sofitel, Novotel, and Ibis, among others. Colony's plan is clear: clean up, stabilize, then relaunch. The first project is real estate. Buffalo Grill owns its own buildings, which is a strength but also puts a huge strain on cash flow. So Colony decides to sell the buildings and then lease them back. A common operation in the world of investment funds, what's called a sale and leaseback. The result is immediate. Cash is freed up and the balance sheet is lightened. The second area to work on is the image. The brand needs to be polished up. So we focus on communication, on restoring trust, and on one word, or rather two: food safety. Little by little, attendance is picking up again. Customers are coming back, and the trend is reversing. Buffalo Grill has nearly 300 restaurants, including 27 abroad. And one thing is quietly changing. The brand has stopped opening everywhere. The pace is slowing down, and the focus is more on consolidation than expansion. But Colony doesn't plan to stay long. It's a fun. Its mission, like all the others, is to increase the value and then sell. And precisely behind the scenes, another negotiation is starting. Two French funds come into play, Abnex and Nixon, partners. They want to buy the majority of the capital, but they set one condition: keep the current management, because a new recovery plan is being prepared. And it looks nothing like what Buffalo Grill has experienced so far. The agreement is signed, Abnex and Nixon take control, Buffalo Grill becomes 100% French again, and the goal changes. This time, it's not just about restoring the image anymore. The model needs to be rethought. The Wild West is starting to get old. Customers are changing. Expectations are evolving. So a question arises internally, a question that will haunt the brand for years. Can we stay Buffalo Grill without getting stuck in the 80s? In the Buffalo Grill dining rooms, the decor hasn't changed. The horns are still there, and so are the tables. Even the checkered tablecloths seem to come from another time. But outside, the world has changed. The French eat differently. They want more freshness, more speed, more transparency, and above all, less red meat. On the other side, the competition is getting organized. Burgers are going up market. Big Fernand, Steak and Shake, Five Guys. They're arriving in big cities with modern, urban, and younger concepts. Buffalo, on the other hand, is going to stick to its old Wild West theme. A small, subtle change. The logo evolves slightly. The brand is dropping the Western vibe to adopt a road trip style, which is considered more in tune with the times. But apart from that, everything else stays the same. Inside, the same dishes, the same posters, the same birthday jingle. What no one dares to say internally is that Buffalo is becoming outdated. The word is going around among franchisees. Some avoid it, others say it outright. We attract the parents, but we're losing the young people. Abnex and Nixon are throwing in the towel. The British fund TDR Capital is buying Buffalo Grill for about 400 million euros, with one idea: to change scale. And very quickly, a transformation plan is launched. First, create virtual brands. To reach the delivery generation, Buffalo launches Bun Meat Bun, a 100% delivery brand. And it works. In just a few months, digital sales skyrocket. But that's not enough. The COVID crisis hits, restaurants close, and revenue collapses. But TDR sees an opportunity. A historic competitor, Court Pie, is going under. Buffalo buys the brand for next to nothing, 17 million euros. The group changes its name to Napocaro, and Buffalo becomes just one entity among others. At that point, the new owners have two choices: modernize, embrace the legacy, and wait for the market to come back. You can guess it, right? He chooses the first option. But it's too late, because the real problem isn't the image, it's the location. Many Buffalo Grill locations are set up in shopping areas that, today, are losing their appeal. Movie theaters are closing, stores are disappearing, and parking lots that used to be full are gradually emptying out. So yes, the brand is investing, the restaurants are being renovated, the menus are changing, and the communication is becoming more modern. But the real problem is, you can change the inside, but if the outside doesn't attract anyone anymore, it's not going to make much of a difference. Last attempt, a complete makeover. Buffalo becomes House of Barbecue. No more cowboys, no more westerns. We're betting everything on the meat, wood-fired, modern American style. The decor. Route 66. The rebranding costs 80 million euros, and the group believes in it. Buffalo Grill is still here. 326 restaurants, 7,500 employees, and for the 9th consecutive year, the brand has been voted the French people's favorite restaurant chain. But that title doesn't tell the whole story, because in the numbers, another truth is hidden. In 2018, Buffalo Grill made 379 million euros in revenue for barely 700,000 euros in net profit. In other words, almost no margin, and even today, despite the makeover, growth remains fragile. The slightest shock, the slightest setback could call everything into question. The model is worn out, the concept is hard to renew without betraying itself, and above all, the competition gets stronger every day. More agile independent restaurants, more modern chains, ultra-targeted dark kitchens. So Buffalo is trying new things. New decor, vegetarian options, digital menus, TikTok campaigns. But the challenge is deeper. Buffalo Grill built its empire on an American dream. But today, France no longer dreams of cowboys. It dreams of transparency, simplicity, and closeness. Buffalo Grill is more than just a restaurant chain. It's an open-air business lesson. It's the story of a brilliant intuition, a concept from elsewhere, skillfully adapted to a country that wasn't expecting it. A simple idea, executed methodically until it became a national habit. For years, the brand managed to create something rare. A habit, a sense of familiarity, a sincere connection with millions of French people. But in a rapidly changing world, a good idea is no longer enough. What Buffalo experienced was not a sudden fall. It was a slow erosion made up of small shifts, decisions made too late, and subtle signals that people didn't want to see. Not out of incompetence, but because after years of success, you think you found the formula, and you forget that no formula lasts forever. So, what do you think about it? Can an empire born in 1980, which is struggling to shake off its old-fashioned image, still be appealing in 2025? But what is certain is that in a sector where everything moves fast, where tastes change, where habits evolve, just surviving is already an achievement. And Buffalo Grill, despite the costs, despite the scandals and the years, is still standing. Like Flunch, which, after being an empire of French dining, was hit hard by strategic mistakes, as you can see in the video that's showing.